John Alden Sr., John P. Almeida, Matthew D. Aquaro, Jean G. Argento, Michael P. Armstrong, M. Ingrid Barry, Gayla J. Bartlett, William J. Bill Bates Jr., Janet L. Bennett, Maureen A. Bernard, Louis J. Bernazzani, Anna Flynn Bertini, Antonio G. Betancourt, Richard M. Betancourt Jr., Tenley Page Bevins, Cheryl A. Billings, John W. Billings, Theodore G. Blake, Richard A. Bolduc, William E. Bradstreet, Amy Butler, Matthew B. Byrne, Christine J. Cheatham, Lawrence P. Chisholm, Jennifer L. Churchill, James M. Simon, Kathleen L. Simon, Peter E. Clement, Matthew P. Cocciati, Annette Y. Collins, Claire T. Conway, Lawrence H. Crowley, Robert F. Cummings, Jr., Priscilla W. Curta, Glenn M. Dagley, Andrea J. Daly, Douglas P. Daly, Charles C. Dame, Jr., Peter G. DeVicos II, Christopher J. Dembowski, Gene M. Dempsey, Michael Sean Dempsey, Dutrochet J. Doiko, Timothy T. Donahue, John W. Duffel III, Matthew E. Duggan, Wayne H. Eisenhower, Colleen Lynch Aldridge, James S. Evans, John P. Farmer, Natalie Luca Fiore, Linda J. D. Flaherty, William F. Fowey, David A. Frazier, Arthur J. Francis, Daniel A. Gagnon, Ronald A. Gagnon, Janet L. Gargan, Daniel J. Geary, Jr., Joan M. George, Bruce H. Getchell, Dana Michael Hagan, Mark C. Hannon, Marilyn E. Hazel, Jamie Smith Henry, William K. Hersey, Cheryl James, John L. Jaworski, Mark Jones, Carla E. King, Elizabeth Clem, Theodore Contos, Marianne G. Kowalski, Sandra Sandy Lane, Rebecca Sims Lee, Ellen M. Lefevre, Charles L. Lincecum, Vincent J. Mackey, Donna M. Martin, Michael Matvichuk, Alan D. McCarriston, Sharon M. McManus, Nancy A. McNulty, Paul A. McNulty, Eric R. Midricky, Roberta A. Mercier, Mark B. Mazzina, Nelson F. Moran, James V. Morose, Karen J. Nelson, William L. Nicholson, Ross Nizieski, Deborah K. Nicolini, Michael J. Ortons, Richard J. Parker, Joyce P. Pawanski, Michael W. Powers, Roger A. Powers, William M. Prentice, Michael James Randall, Kenneth B. Reardon, Kevin T. Rourke, Robert F. Ryan Sr., W. Coley Rybicki, Nova D. Samadai, Deborah F. Sauer, Thomas M. Savage, Kenneth G. Scholes Jr., James M. Sears, Peter Z. Shabowitz, Sonia M. Schafferville, Arthur P. Skamis, Kerry C. Smith-Julian, George H. Snow, Elizabeth Lisa Stockman, Richard D. Stoney, Richard A. Stoney, Robert Sullivan, Alexander Swift, Peter H. Swift, Ralph E. Swift, Eldon Peter Swindell, Bruce A. Sims, Jackson Carroll Tingle, Janice R. Typert, Monica L. Typert, Richard B. Trask, Kathleen Turcott, James P. Tutgo, Josephine M. Uminski, Jared Wade Waterman, Alan Weeks, Peter J. Wilson, Kevin T. Wood, John S. Savalia, Mark M. Zubarak, Savannah Alden, David Kennison, Robert Leshin, Michael Morris, Gardner S. Trask III, Daniel C. Bennett, William H. Clark Jr., Diane M. Langlace, David A. Mills. Is there anyone else?
"115 members stating their presence. I now declare the presence of a quorum. We have several new town meeting members that need to be sworn in this evening, so I would invite them to stand to take the oath that is going to be given by Town Clerk Joe Collins.
If you'd raise your right hands and repeat after me, I, and your names, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a town meeting member, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of this Commonwealth. So help me God. Congratulations.
Congratulations and welcome. I'd like to take a moment and welcome our state representative, Ted Speliotis. I saw come in the back. I'd also like to welcome our new chair of the Finance Committee, C.R. Lyons, and our new Finance Committee member, Sally Kearns. Before we begin this evening, as you know, we lost one of our most long-serving town meeting members, John Duffel Jr., in August. I would like to recognize senior town meeting member Bill Nicholson of Precinct 8, who will offer some remarks in remembrance of Mr. Duffel. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Bill Nicholson, Precinct 8. Precinct 8 in this body lost a great member when we lost John Duffel Jr. John loved the town of Danvers, and he proved it by doing what he did. He worked 38 years as a fireman. He worked in this town meeting hall many, many years. John was a great neighbor, a good friend. He loved his family. He was married for 56 years to his wife, Betty. He had 2 children, John Duffel III, who sits here tonight in town meeting as he has for a number of years, following in his father's footsteps. His daughter, who lives next door to me, and his 4 grandchildren that he loved dearly and was very proud of all the advances they had made. I'd like to share a little memory of what happened on John's funeral day at the Peterson O'Donnell Funeral Home. Reverend Charles Gross, retired former pastor of Maple Street Church, was about ready to start the service for John. And he waited a minute and he looked around that enormous room. He said he'd been doing this for approximately 5 odd years. This was the first time that he had ever seen this, and it is a big room, full. And what a fitting position that is for John, for the people who loved him. I would like to ask town meeting, please, for a moment of silence in John's memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bill. I'd like everyone to stand to recite the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Do all members have a copy of the warrant articles and the recommendations of the Finance Committee? For the benefit of new members as well as others, the chair will review some matters of information and instruction relative to the conduct of this meeting, most of which are procedural. The chair will read each article or a summary thereof aloud, which will be followed by the recommendation of the Finance Committee. The recommendation of the Finance Committee is the main motion. Town meeting members usually speak on all motions before any others. However, any citizen voter in the town will be permitted to speak after town meeting members have done so. As is tradition, all members addressing the body are asked to use the microphone. In special circumstances, the chair may permit a committee chairman or the sponsor of an article or some other person, such as town council, to speak before others for the purpose of information or explanation. This meeting, if it wishes, may change the order of discussion of articles in the warrant by majority vote. The chair reminds all present that no person may speak without permission of the chair and that no speaker may be interrupted except for a point of order or privilege. All questions addressed to any other person present must go through the chair. Neither cross-examination nor reference to personalities will be permitted. They are out of order. The chair retains the authority at all times to rule certain questions and comments irrelevant to the meeting. Direct controversies between speakers are an affront to the dignity of the town meeting and will not be tolerated. All proposed amendments must be in writing with a copy given to the town clerk. The reason for this is purely for the sake of clarity so that we all know what we are voting for or against, and in order that a main motion after amendment can be clearly stated by the chair prior to voting. I thank the members who have given prior notice of possible amendments. The chair will from time to time recite requirements for votes on certain motions. As a reminder, in June 1998, the town meeting voted to adopt Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 15, to authorize the moderator to declare adoption without count any vote requiring a two-thirds vote. Most of our voting is conducted on a voice vote basis. If the chair has doubt of the result of the voice vote, the chair will ask for a standing vote. After the chair has made the announcement of the vote may not be questioned. Roll call voting. A roll call vote may be taken on any motion when the following conditions have been met. A motion must be made for a roll call vote at the conclusion of debate or after a voice vote has been taken. The motion must be seconded. Passage for the motion for the roll call vote requires a majority vote. A motion for a roll call vote may not be made after a standing vote has been taken and the results announced by the chair. Interruption of any method of voting will be considered out of order. The chair asks that all persons with beepers or cell phones kindly place the device in silent mode or turn it off. As always, no smoking is permitted on school grounds. I would also like to call your attention to the location of the emergency exits in the room, which are clearly marked on either side of the room, in the front and the rear. The chair asks cooperation of those citizens who are not town meeting members to please refrain from taking part in voice voting. The return of the warrant indicates it was properly served. There is a motion by Chairman Trask that the chair omit the reading of the warrant, which has been seconded by Diane Langley. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. We will now turn to Article 1, State Public Works Grant. To see what sum the town will vote to appropriate for public works projects, such sum to be reimbursed by the State Transportation Bond Bill or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that town meeting vote to appropriate $181,028 for public works projects, such sum to be reimbursed by the State Transportation Bond Bill.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 2, Ivan G. Smith Elementary School. To see if the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended under the direction of the town manager and school building committee for the construction, renovation, additions, demolition, equipment, furnishing, site work, testing, professional services, including design and engineering, and relocation costs at the Ivan G. Smith Elementary School located at 15 Labeo Drive in Danvers, Mass., which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the town may be eligible for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA. The town acknowledges that the MSBA grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the town incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town. Any grant that the town may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 1, 55.46% of eligible approved project cost as determined by the MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that the town of Danvers vote to appropriate the amount of $52 million for the purpose of paying costs of construction, renovation, additions, demolition, equipment, furnishings, site work, testing, professional services, including design and engineering, and relocation costs at the Ivan G. Smith Elementary School located at 15 Labeo Drive in Danvers, Mass., including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children for at least 50 years, and for which the town of Danvers may be eligible for a grant from the MSBA, said amount to be expended under the direction of the town manager and school building committee. That to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44 and 70B, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the town of Danvers incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town of Danvers, provided further that any grant that Danvers may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 55 46/100% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA. That the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the town and the MSBA, and that the town manager is authorized to take any other action necessary to carry out this vote. Any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there any discussion? Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Gardner Trask, Chairman for the Board of Selectmen. I'm here representing the town administration. This is the Selectmen's warrant being forwarded. As you know, the town has a close partnership with our school committee, our educational professionals, but the town itself maintains and owns the buildings that the schools are participant to. As such, it is a selectmen's warrant that's coming forward, and I'd like to speak briefly to this. Tonight, you're being asked to vote on a special town meeting, one article, for the project and the price as presented in the warrant explanation, and with the consideration that this has already been funded as part of or will be funded as part of the 2020 fiscal year budget as presented. This is the culmination of many, many years of planning. We've gone through 4 years of application with the MSBA. On the 4th try, we were approved, which started the clock of 2 years of hard work by the Smith School Building Committee, who I'd like to thank officially at this point for their hard work and dedication to bringing the details forward that you're considering tonight. So I'd like to give a round of applause to the Smith School Building Committee, please. Thank you. As you're well aware, you received a warrant and explanation which had a lot of details in it. There's been a flood of information over 25 public meetings about the project as it has been progressing. We've had multiple selectmen's meetings. We've had a FinCom meeting. 2 Saturdays ago, we had a all-morning workshop for anybody who had any questions about the project, the details. There were questions as important as parking and traffic flow and where the dumpsters were. Various people with various ideas wanted to know particularly about the project and their specific points of interest. And the town worked very hard to provide all of that information to you. We had based on comments and discussions, there was at the head of the stairs coming down or outside on the table a frequently asked question about those things that we hear on a regular basis. And we hope you consider those frequently asked questions as well. We look to the body to be informed about the project and feel that they have the opportunity to ask what they could have asked and have a comfort level with it. It's clear to me as a voting member, as a town meeting member, that this is the time the school project needs to be rebuilt, not refurbished. And given that, we're building a educational opportunity for the future. We're considering not just what we have today and the population we have today, but what we anticipate to be the growth of the town of Danvers in our student population. As a town meeting member, I think this is the right project at the right time, and I am supporting it and ask that you might too as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Zubrick.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I miss this opportunity every year, every time we have this town meeting. And I promise I'll speak slowly and short. Madam Moderator and fellow town meeting members, I rise tonight, and I'm using Bill Nicholson's term, a few thoughts in regard to Article 2, also known as the Ivan G. Smith School. Over the past several months, we have heard a lot of discussion regarding the repayment schedule and structure for the money that we are about to authorize and borrow in the future. While this issue became a distraction, thankfully, the subject of the issue of the Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion override is not being debated tonight. That may be done in the future. However, our management team has not ruled it out completely. The management team has been presenting and discussing the plans to reduce the borrowing costs of the project, but not the construction costs. By reducing the repayments period from 30 to 20 years is a very noble idea. And I think every one of us that have bought a home want to mortgage it for 20 years instead of 30, but we can't afford it.
But making the higher annual payments can also be accomplished by reducing spending and not increasing taxes on us all. This is called capital management. Let me be clear. They want to save you money by raising your taxes. That's a serious issue. While I am very happy to hear that the town is finally discussing ways to save the taxpayers' money, I have a much simpler proposal that will result in lower overall project costs and a shorter repayment period without the use of an override. That solution has two parts. The first part is working with our elected representatives on Beacon Hill. The Board of Selectmen must demand that the MSBA to live up to the expectations that they have set. While we are grateful that the town has been able to secure a commitment of 55.46% reimbursement rate for eligible costs, construction costs, this rate does not apply to the full construction cost. We're getting reimbursed 39%. While the current construction estimate is exceeding $500 per square foot, the reimbursement rate only applies to the first $333 set by the MSBA. That's what we're told, per square foot, and other unexplained MSBA exclusions. We, the town, become responsible for a gap of millions of dollars. That's where the $31.5 million comes from. The state mandates that we must use prevailing labor, yet limits the rate at which they reimburse to 2/3 of the current rate. The state recommended that we build for 465 students, but denied the matching funds in our reimbursement formula. To me, this is a very definition of unfunded mandate. If the Board of Selectmen are truly committed to saving the taxpayers' money, they must work to close this gap in funding and reduce the scope of this project. Second proposal is, I propose that the Board of Selectmen reevaluate the size and scope of this project. On page 3 of the explanation report, you will see that there is an expected increase in enrollment of 66%, 185 students. The current population of Smith School is 280, and they want to go up to 465, which, even if you choose to agree with the estimate, it does not correlate with the 91% increase in the square footage. The square footage of the current school is roughly 40,000 square feet. We're going up to 80,000 square feet. And a 173% increase in the amount of on-site parking, which to some extent, that is, some of it is agreeable to, because the neighborhood has been suffering with parking on the streets as well. So I don't, but that's a 173% increase. Who is expected to fill these seats and parking spaces? Along with the larger school, should we also be expecting additional teachers? And we will. The taxpayers already spend $62 million for education. Every year, this past year, I calculated $62 million, which includes the school committee budget plus the facilities management that the town does for the schools. Not including the debt service for the past and current school buildings. If you include the debt service, the budget will approach $70 million out of 110 that we normally spend each year. How much is enough? There are other projects to do in this town, as the Board of Selectmen have identified. If the Board of Selectmen are truly committed to saving the taxpayer money, they will work closely with the school committee to reevaluate the size and the scope of this project. We have heard a lot of discussion around saving money, but now it is time for action. Madam Moderator, I would like to make an amendment to Article 2 that would require the Board of Selectmen to provide an update on these two proposals at the annual town meeting in May of 2019. The motion reads, and I gave you a copy, the Board of Selectmen shall provide an update at the annual town meeting scheduled for May 20th, 2019, regarding their efforts to increase the reimbursement rate of construction costs to more closely match the current construction environment, and their efforts to reduce or otherwise adjust the size and scope of the project. So I propose that this be added. I do not believe that we should vote down the school, but this is an attempt to reduce the size and reduce the cost so it can come under the umbrella of our capital costs that we are incurring every year. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Zubrick. Unfortunately, I need to rule that the proposed amendment is beyond the authority, the scope of authority of the town meeting body to act. So I need to rule that motion out of order. Mr. Town Council?
Good evening. Mr. Moderator, I did review the proposed motion. I do agree that for several reasons. Most importantly is the motion that is before the body is one that's been approved by the MSBA. To disturb that language with the proposed language, I think would be fatal to the funding mechanism offered through the MSBA. So for that reason, I would agree that it's out of order.
Thank you. Mr. Zubrick?
So, Madam Moderator, what I would like to do is raise this particular amendment, or the wording of the amendment. I would like to raise it to the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen shall provide an update at the annual town meeting scheduled for May 20th regarding their efforts to increase the reimbursement rate, which is something we need to do, of construction costs to more closely match the current construction environment, and their efforts to reduce or otherwise adjust the size and scope of the project. If we're going to live within our means, this is what the Board of Selectmen needs to do. And I raised that question to Mr. Trask.
Thank you, Mr. Zubrick. So the question would be to Mr. Trask, through me, Mr. Chairman, would the Board of Selectmen be agreeable to provide an update to the annual town meeting that is scheduled for May regarding your efforts to increase the reimbursement rate of construction to more closely match the current construction environment, and to update the body with your efforts to reduce or otherwise adjust the size and scope of the project? Would the board be willing to report back to town meeting?
Thank you for the question and the opinions you offer. The MSBA is a state-run program of which we can petition, as any citizen could petition, for the opportunity for redress. However, this has been a long-standing, we applied based on their current rules and regulations and processes. We followed those and actually took 4 applications till it was approved. At this point, they have deemed this project important enough in the town of Danvers to put it above all the other projects they have. The reimbursement rate per square foot has remained stagnant, has increased slowly, but not as much as obviously the construction costs. This is a design by the MSBA because they have a fixed amount of budget. And they have determined while they could increase the per square footage, they would minimize or reduce the number of projects that they could consider. So if they, this number is just for example, with their budget, they could fully fund at 100% the square foot costs of construction and do, again an example, 2 or 3 projects a year. By reducing the square footage and capping it in the caps that were described and detailed in the warrant explanation, in the project meetings, and actually were discussed at length at the Saturday workshop and FinCom meeting, they're allowing the opportunity for more than just the 2 or 3 fully funded projects to ask towns and cities to participate and with a lower square footage, but spread the wealth and let more projects happen. At this point, we could petition our legislation as we would desire, but that would be a decision that the board would make, and I can't speak for the entire board. And if we choose to petition the state for redress, it would be through our representation, our state rep and our local senator. So at this time, I am not committing to, at the town meeting, letting you know about action that we have not voted on as a select body.
But if I could interrupt, Mr. Chairman, I think what Mr. Zubrick is asking is, would the board update the town, be agreeable to updating the town meeting body as to, I think, some of the issues that he raised about the scope and size of the project, whether or not there would be any differential in funding at the annual town meeting. And I think that that discussion would very appropriately be included in any debate on the debt service of the annual town budget.
So I will say that at the town meeting, we will discuss any board decision about redressing the MSBA, and we will discuss any opportunities for reduction in costs upon our review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only reason I raise this is because we need to extend our effort in the reimbursement formula, because there are cities and towns that are getting reimbursed at 90% of their costs, and we are not getting our fair share because of the combination of the ineligible parts. We have we've done an excellent job in arriving at the 55.46% reimbursement. That's great. But the thing is that we did not arrive at the right scope that would be reimbursed at.
Madam Chairman, the current cap for square footage is the same for all projects, and there's no project on the books right now that are being reimbursed at 90%. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe this is the time that Danvers stood up and said, hey guys, we're not getting our fair share, and this is a unfunded liability that that the state has imposed on us, and we all pay taxes to the state. We all pay taxes to the town. So let's get our fair share. But the other piece of this thing is the size and scope. That's something that needs to be looked at as well, and I hope that is done during the value engineering that is being proposed to be done in the future when the design gets further along. Now, I've done estimates for billions of dollars, and those go through high and low, and there are always values in there that are included for escalation, contingency, and material costs. So I would just like to have, I would like to get a confirmation that we will get an update at the next town meeting, which is on May, in annual town meeting, from the Board of Selectmen regarding these matters.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Mr. Zubrick, I think the answer was no. However, at the annual town meeting, when there is debate over the debt service budget, I think that would be an appropriate time.
Well, I appreciate the efforts, but I think this is falling on deaf ears, so we'll proceed.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll now move to a vote. As it is a recommendation that does include borrowing, it does require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of the warrant, of the recommendation of the Finance Committee, kindly say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The motion carries. That is the extent of our warrant this evening. I'd like a motion to dissolve, please. So moved. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Have a good evening. Safe travels home.